have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dreams some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time. The character crisis that we face and that affects so many aspects of our lives, from our individual relationships, our marriages, our family relationships, our community relationships, our politics, our business affairs. Every aspect of our lives is affected by this crisis. And so I've spent the better part, the last 30 years of my professional career, writing about it and speaking about it. And we talk about it on this program as well. We talk about what really is at the heart of the greatness of this country during those times that it has been that shining star on a hill. There have been moments of greatness. And it's always due to one thing. It never has to do with military might or economic clout, both of which we have plenty. It's never been about that. Our greatness has always been wrapped up in the character of our people, and when they uphold those ideals that we profess to treasure, when they harbor them in their heart, and when they live them out, we've had periods of greatness. And we so desperately need those days of greatness once again. And so I write about it. I speak all over the country about it. I talk about it on this program every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time on UCY.tv. You can go to my blog at manipulative-people.com or Dr. George Simon, that's DrGeorgeSimon.com. Either URL will take you to the same place. Hundreds of timely articles. And then my books, of course, In Sheep's Clothing, the international bestseller, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, many regard it as the definitive book on manipulative behavior. Character Disturbance, my book about the wide variety of disturbed characters that you're going to encounter in your life, how to deal with them, and especially what to do when you're seeking help. And then my book, The Judas System. The Judas System, oh my goodness. The Judas Syndrome. The Judas Syndrome, my only book written from the Christian faith perspective to the Christian faith community. And my book, How Did We End Up Here, co-authored with Dr. Kathy Armistead. The Toxic Relationship Victim's Survival Guide to navigating through this character-disordered world of ours. People asking themselves that question, how did we get here? How did I get here in this crazy relationship of mine? What can I do to avoid it in the future? And also addressing the question of how did we get here as a society where we have so much character dysfunction? So that's what I've made my life's work. And it's been an interesting journey. A journey that is not over yet. I still learn every day. And if you want to join the conversation tonight, we are live, December 17th, 2017. This is a live broadcast. Sometimes the broadcast is not live and you can't phone in. So that's why at the beginning of the program I announce the date of the program and that it's live, just in case you hear this same program on a replay, and then you know that even though I'm saying it's live, it's probably not. But tonight, December 17th, 2017, we are live, and you can call in if you have a question to ask, or just a situation you want to talk about, or something you want to share. The number to call is 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326, and I'll be happy to take your call. Tonight, we have to wrap up right on time, so I may end phone call taking a little bit early because I'm going to be doing an interview with some folks at the BBC right after the program ends, so that means that I'll have to be quick to wrap up the program right on time, and I won't be able to take a call at the last minute. So if you're itching to call in for one reason, whether you have a question you want to ask, a situation that you're in that you want to discuss, or you just want to share something that you think will interest the audience, then give us a call at 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. Well, tonight's program is going to be a very different program. You're likely not to hear a live broadcast a week from today, which would be Christmas Eve. And so I'm going to take the liberty of making tonight's program the program that I come at you from a spiritual perspective. You know, there are many pathways, I believe. I follow the way. I follow the way that other Christian professors profess to follow. And for me, it's not about all of the rubrics, all of the rules, the practices, and it's not even about saying all the right magic words about what you say you believe. It's not about that. It's about the way advocated to live. In the first decades of what we call presently the Christian church, in the first decades, there were no edifices. There were people gathered in catacombs, in homes, even out on the streets, on the hillsides, following the way advocated, the way to live now. It wasn't about some future destiny. It was about how to be truly alive. Truly alive. And it really pains me. It pains me to see how many well-intended, I think, for the most part, individuals there are who have forgotten, who have completely forgotten what it's all about. Maybe they never realized in the first place to forget, but they just have no clue what that way of living is all about. If they did, I mean, just think of how many millions, think of how many millions of people profess to follow the way, profess to be believers. Think of all the millions of people of other religious persuasions. And if it were really true, that folks grasped the deeper meanings, the deeper spiritual meanings of the way they profess to follow, why would we have any hunger? Why would we have any injustice? Why would we have any corruption? You see, there's an old adage, talk is cheap. It takes no effort whatsoever to open your mouth and move your lips and say one thing or another. Takes no time at all. Takes no effort at all. But to live, as Christians supposedly believe, we have been commanded to live that way, goes against everything the world teaches us about what matters. So that's what I want to talk about tonight, because it really bears on the character problem. I have met so many individuals in my life, not just professionally as a therapist, but I just know of so many situations where individuals have been reborn, so to speak, by participating in one of the 12-step programs, which for all of its, I suppose, fairly deserved criticisms in one way or another, is undoubtedly the richest and the most effective spiritually based program around. We're talking hundreds of millions of lives saved. Not bad. Not bad. There are so many therapists out there. So many counselors of one type or another who could not claim the same kind of success rate. And this program has saved hundreds of millions of people from the throes of addiction and other problem behaviors. And the first steps, the first 6 in particular, the first 4, they're all powerful, but the first of them have been so instrumental, and they're so powerful because they're so well spiritually grounded. And they so counter the toxic messages in this age of narcissism, this narcissistic fostering culture that we find ourselves in, and that has destroyed so many lives. And because I've seen that in my work, even though I avoid talking in specific religious terms, I'm always aware that at the heart, many problems are spiritual problems. Teilhard de Chardin said that we are not human beings yearning for a spiritual experience. Rather, we are in fact spiritual beings having a very human experience. We are at heart spiritual creatures. We become divorced from our heart. We lose contact with our soul. The world invites us to put calluses, or it engenders. We don't put them there. It engenders calluses on our hearts. We suffer wounds. We build defenses. We try to cope the best we can. And in the process, many times, we lose our souls. We lose connection, intimate connection with our inner selves. We forget who we are and what we're really looking for, what will really satisfy us. Now, some holidays are upon us. Different faiths celebrate differently. Some people don't celebrate at all. Some folks regard the holiday as strictly a secular holiday. After all, most of these religiously based feast times were deliberately set on top of the times that that pagans or other groups celebrated very different things. So at solstice time, there were always celebrations of one type or another. There's no accident that we celebrate Christmas when we do. However, there is a spirit intended for this season. And it's a spirit so lacking. And it's not that we're not a giving country. Matter of fact, one of the things that breaks my heart, I think about this all the time. When you put together all of the charitable organizations of one type or another that there are. Not just faith-based organizations, not just churches that serve the needs of people and then also tithe themselves and use a portion of their funds to go for other charitable works and missions and whatnot. But then all of the other human service type organizations and other charitable organizations, foundations that serve human needs, whether it be Shriners and their hospitals, or whether it be the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, or whether it be the Salvation Army, or all the various charities from United Way to Red Cross to, you name it. When you put them all together, we are talking about trillions of dollars, generously. UNICEF, you name it. There are so many organizations. And so much money spent. So tell me, with all that, why is there so much injustice still? Why are people starving still? Why is there ethnic cleansing still? Why can't people get health care when they need it still? In various places. Why is there unnecessary suffering and disease still? You see, the problem lies in the human heart. The problem lies in the human heart. My wife and I and my two grandchildren, we went to see the new Star Wars movie last night. Oh my goodness, I had no idea it was going to be nearly 3 hours long. And I can understand the mixed reviews because there are parts I thought were just absolutely excellent, and then I thought there were other parts that were just plain tedious. And I didn't think the acting was all that great, and I didn't think some of the scripts were all that great. But there were some very poignant messages in the movie, and there was one very memorable line. And that line I remember very much. My wife and I were talking about it earlier. And that is that we will never survive by fighting against what we hate. Aggression always breeds counter-aggression. We've never won peace through war. Not really. Not really. It only seems that way. Only seems that way for a time. So we will never save ourselves by fighting what we hate, but by saving what we love. That was a very memorable line from the movie. And you can think of so many things today that applies to. Saving what we love. From this miraculous planet that we live on, that sustains all this life. You know, this is just a miracle. I don't care how you see it. whether it's a freak accident of nature or part of a divine plan. I don't care how you see it. This is a miracle. We don't have to be here, but we are. And we are here precisely because all the right ingredients to allow us to be here are here. Whether they were intentionally fashioned that way or whether it just happened that way by happenstance, it doesn't really matter. This is an undeniable miracle. And it behooves us to appreciate that fact. Behooves us to appreciate that we exist precisely because of the unique ingredients bestowed upon us. So by preserving what we love, and gosh, I hope we love this planet. I hope we love this world. I think of how much I love it every time I witness a beautiful sunrise or sunset, or feel the cool breeze and look at the landscape around me. Just take some time to marvel about what we have, what's been gifted to us, however you want to see it, whether you want to see it as just simply gifted by nature or gifted by God. I don't care how you want to see it. We will save ourselves. We will survive by preserving, treasuring, and saving what we love. And by the way, that's what people who are professed followers of the way have been commanded to do, to love. And they've even been commanded how to love. With everything. Whole heart, whole mind, soul, strength. And in the manner that we believe someone actually showed us in the flesh how to love. Bleeding to death, mocked, rejected, disrespected, disowned, misunderstood, and still loving. Even if it weren't true, it would be the most fantastic story ever told. There's a movie and a book of that same title, Greatest Story Ever Told. And even if it weren't true, it would be the greatest story ever told. Because that message is a saving message. We all do have hearts and souls. And we have the power to open or close them. It's our choice. We don't have to let the world and its ways, we don't have to let it harden our hearts. We don't. It's tough to keep a heart open, even when there's been some trauma. I know that. I know that well. I've counseled so many people who've been stepped on, spit on, wounded beyond belief by their toxic relationship partners. and it can harden one's heart. And I know so many toxic people who became toxic people simply because they also were wounded and hardened their hearts in a particular way. Now, I'm here to tell you, I want to be sure that you understand this, because this is one of the things that I make sure that I talk about in every single one of my training workshops. You don't have to be toxic. You don't have to become toxic as a result of past wounding. There's been an assumption for far too long in the mental health community that the only reason people become as toxic as they've become is because they've calloused their hearts as a result of past wounding. And if nothing bad had happened to them, or if they didn't come out of pathetic environments, they wouldn't turn out bad in character. Well, this assumption is deeply flawed, especially in our day and time. It's a deeply flawed assumption. And it's kept many a person far too long in a toxic relationship. It's kept many a person far too long in a toxic relationship. People can become monsters, if you will, simply because they've been indulged their whole lives. Made to feel special above the common throng. Or maybe they just naturally felt that way. There's all kinds of reasons that people can turn out pretty horrible in character. But the solution is still the same. There's a Greek word for it. It's called metanoia. It's that change of heart and mind. It's that change inside, that conversion from one way to another, from the self-serving, destructive way to a more loving, bigger picture kind of way. Seeing how it all fits together. It's a broadening of the mind. That's what it's all about. So, there is, whether we like it or not, a higher power, as they talk about in the 12 steps. There is an energy that binds all things. That infuses existence into all things material. Einstein told us that there is a conservancy law between matter and energy. And that one can be converted, but energy itself can neither be created nor destroyed. It's always been there. And even the physicists tell us now that the material world began in a split second, in a big bang, from a single point, a singularity, where everything that exists was condensed into a point. So microscopic, infinitesimally small. And then, pow. The entire universe was born and is still expanding. The remnants of that bang still occurring billions of years later. Billions of years of unfolding interstellar evolution. And interplanetary. Unbelievable. We don't think about it. We don't think about the big picture most of the time. We think about ourselves and the things that we want or think we need. That's what we think about. We're inherently self-focused creatures. It's so easy to be self-absorbed. And in our narcissistic culture, those tendencies are only reinforced. It's all about me. So we don't think about the bigger picture and how we fit in it and what we can do, each one of us, to make things better. It all starts with us. That's what the spirit of the season is all about. It all starts with us. We have to be the change that we want to see elsewhere. We have to be the first to do things differently. We have to show the way by being the way. That's what we have to do. And that's how we'll convert hearts, one heart at a time. By being a heart and a person so attractive that nobody can resist. That nobody can resist our love. That's how it goes. Maybe you have a comment about this. Maybe you just have a question you want to ask. Maybe you have a situation you'd like to share. If you do, give us a call at 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. And I'll be happy to take your call. Well, as I mentioned earlier, this character issue that affects all of our lives in so many ways has been once again affecting our politics in a big, big way this past week. And you know, I think something really interesting is happening. We've been in this character crisis for such a long time. And there's really some of the behaviors that we're witnessing are nothing new. They're nothing new. For example, the sexual harassment scandals that have come to light lately. I mean, sexual harassment's been around a long time. But what is new is that the public awareness is so high now, and there's so much awareness that things really could be better, that there really is no excuse, that we ought to know better, and we have it within us to do better. And so, much like that famous line in the movie Network, where the lead character leans out the window and says, "I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore." Folks are saying we don't have to tolerate certain kinds of behaviors. We don't have to tolerate them. Now, frankly, and maybe some people will take issue with me on this, so I'm going out on a limb. I don't know that the solution to discovering the reprehensible actions of irresponsible people, I don't know that I don't know that it's justice, and I don't know that it's the solution to anything. I don't know that it solves anything at all or makes anything any better, that every time somebody's reprehensible behavior comes to light, the answer seems to be they should lose their job. I don't know how that fixes anything. Certainly, we don't want to reward people. We don't want to reward people. And we don't want to give people jobs. We don't want to afford them positions in organizations that demand a certain amount of integrity and responsibility. We don't want to put them in those positions if we know them to be of truly significantly flawed character. We don't want to do that. I think people are wising up to that. So it's for sure that people shouldn't be put in positions, especially positions of power, especially positions of political power where people have some say over whether or not that power is conferred. Character does matter. That's what this program is all about. We need to make it matter. We need to make it be part of our decision-making process. But I'm not so sure that every single time somebody is outed for the behavior that clearly is reprehensible and that they were able to get away with for so long, I'm not sure that the answer is always that means that it should cost them their job or their livelihood. Everybody's entitled to a livelihood of some kind. I'm just not sure that's the answer, but I am extremely edified that people are saying no more. It's about time. It's about time we started respecting one another. It's about time we started honoring individual worth and dignity. It's about time that we treated one another with civility. You know, in my book I talk about, in my book Character Disturbance, and in my book How Did We End Up Here, I talk about how some of the most disturbed characters among us, even in their real how should I say it? They're even in the pathological nature of their narcissism, the utter lack of shame and empathy and the callousness, the hardness of their hearts, how some of these folks almost demand respect, feeling no sense of obligation to earn it. Nonetheless, we can treat everyone with civility, even those who don't merit our respect. Those of us who profess to follow the way we're instructed to do good and to treat well, to to do good toward and to treat well even those who do not treat us well or who even hate us. Now, at some level, this seems like a fairly idealistic notion that is horribly impractical, and therefore anybody would have to be an idiot to follow it. But as I have grown, and as I have learned dealing with people all these many years, I have come to appreciate the great wisdom in that command. There is wisdom there. Great wisdom. We will not have a chance at converting any hearts when we meet might with might, hate with hate, aggression with counter-aggression. I read just a small part of a book as I was cleaning out a room in my attic. Came across an old book by an author that who asked for my endorsement, which I gave because it was a good book. But the author talked about weapons of mass construction as opposed to weapons of mass destruction. You know, we've been so good at fashioning these weapons that could annihilate millions of people at one stroke. And we haven't talked about weapons of mass construction. And our best weapon of mass construction is the manner in which we conduct ourselves. We have the power to convert hearts, starting with our own. That's how it's done, one heart at a time. Gandhi knew this. Martin Luther King knew this. All of the great saints among us, the enlightened ones, who saw the bigger picture, who saw their own role within it, and put their very lives at that service of something bigger. They understood the way that Christian folks say on their lips that they follow, but so many don't. So, this being the season, I have some gifts that I want to give, and I have some prayers and wishes that I'd like to offer. I'd like to actually challenge those of you listening out there to broaden your vision, to heighten your awareness, to give the greatest possible gift you can possibly give to anyone, let alone the world. To give the gift of an enlightened self. Start with you. Examine your own heart. Mend your own wounds. Tend to them. Open yourself up. Let the light shine. Give. Give till it hurts. And what you'll get back, you won't be able to count. You won't be able to quantify. The person that started the way that I also profess to follow said the whole purpose of it was not just to have life, but to have it in abundance. You know, we translate many times the kind of life that he talked about as eternal life, but really the Greek word has much more to do without boundaries, without limits, endless, extending beyond all measure, a rich life like you can barely even wrap your head around. It's within our reach. It's within our power. And it starts with us. And we don't get there by preaching to other people or telling them that we've found the way, and therefore if they'll just believe like we profess to believe, that they'll have the way too. That isn't how it works. That isn't how it works. And that's not how it happened in the beginning either. People converted when they saw what was happening with the people who were following the way, how they were living and how abundant their lives were and how darned attractive it was and how counterintuitive it was, but how magnetic it was. That they were filled with joy in abundance. That their lives were rich and full, even in the midst of poverty, war, despair. And it attracted people by the hundreds, then the thousands, then the hundreds of thousands, then the millions. It's within our power to renew the face of the earth once more. It's a new day, it's a new time. And we should say, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take this anymore. Anger is not the problem. It's one of those nature-given emotions that's supposed to propel us into action, and we need to take action. But the kind of action we need to take is not warfare against those we hate or dislike or have bad feelings toward because they've hurt us. We need to use our weapons of mass construction, and that is the kind of love that hurts. It's the kind of giving that hurts. Emptying ourselves. Handing ourselves over to something bigger. We're the greatest gift that we can give. And that's how we honor the ultimate giver, the first giver. As we bring ourselves to the table. In purity of heart, with a clean heart. So, there you have it. There you have my Christmas wish. It's an interesting time of the year. This year for me, I have mixed feelings about Christmas because I have such beautiful memories of many Christmas past. And this year, in so many ways, especially when I see all the commercialism and I see people, I'm witnessing a lot of people say basically a kind of to themselves about the whole enterprise. I see a lot of people without what we used to call the Christmas spirit. I think there's just been far too much depression fostering stuff in our politics, in our business affairs, in our community affairs, especially in our relationships. There's just been so much heart-stomping stuff that it's hard to have the spirit. And quite frankly, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. We didn't have any callers tonight. I can't really take one now because we're getting close to the end of the hour. As I mentioned to you before, I have an interview to give right after the program ends, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But it breaks my heart that the spirit of the season is so hard to come by these days, it seems. But we have the power to change that. It starts with us. It starts with us. So I would urge you, give the greatest gift that you can. Give up yourself. Volunteer somewhere. Do something. Take some action. It's not just about the money. Money is such an easy, symbolic way of doing something. But nothing matches a personal outpouring of human generosity. There are so many people with so many needs. Write that touching note. Make that necessary contact. Invite that person to lunch. Reach out. Share. Spend a morning at that food pantry. Bring something that you don't really need anyway to that homeless shelter. Practice the way. It's good for you. It's good for everybody. That's what the season is all about. I hope we recover it. So you're likely to hear a recorded program next time. I thank you for tuning in. Until the next time we're live, I'm Dr. George Simon. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Shorelines to the prairies, to the cities.